Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're unpacking an absolute geopolitical tech thriller. We're looking at the massive launch, the completely sudden and mysterious disappearance, and the triumphant return of Anthropic's Claude Fable. Okay, so let's just dive right into this. 19 days is exactly how long the world's most capable, publicly available AI model just vanished from the internet. I mean, think about that for a second. You have this massive, industry-shifting product launch on a Tuesday, and by Friday, it is entirely gone. Which brings us to a huge, glaring question. What actually happens when your critical AI infrastructure is suddenly banned? Imagine you're an enterprise dev, or a tech leader in finance, or maybe healthcare. You've just wired up your cutting-edge systems to this incredible new model, and suddenly, without any warning at all, your API endpoints just go dark. No technical outage, no server failure, just a regulatory hard stop straight from the government. So, to understand how we got here and exactly how to protect your stack moving forward, here's our roadmap. We're covering 1. The Fable 5 era. 2. The 19-day global blackout. 3. The anatomy of a jailbreak. 4. New rules for prompting. 5. Migrating your API stack. And lastly, 6. AI as conditional infrastructure. All right, part 1, the Fable 5 era, Anthropic's massive new capability. This is Act 1 of our story, kicking off on June 9th, 2026. Let's look at how Fable 5 compares directly to its siblings. It comes in at $10 per million input tokens and $50 for output. So that's exactly double the price of the previous flagship Opus 4.8. But here's the really wild part. Fable 5 and the highly restricted Mythos 5 model actually share the exact same underlying base model. The only difference? Mythos 5 has fewer safeguards and is locked behind closed doors for vetted government and cybersecurity partners under Project Glasswing. Meanwhile, Fable 5 is the public version, sitting behind this really heavy layer of strict safety classifiers. And the capabilities at launch were just staggering. We are talking about the absolute highest capability tier Anthropic had ever shipped to the public. It boasts this massive 1 million token context window. Just to put that into perspective, that's roughly 2,000 pages of text you can paste in all at once, which is definitely enough to give any software developer a minor panic attack. It also features adaptive thinking, meaning the model decides for itself how hard to reason on a request without you even telling it to. Right at launch, Stripe reported it migrated a 50 million-line Ruby codebase in a single day. People were literally building functional Minecraft-style games in 20 minutes from just one prompt. But as we're about to see, this incredible power was right on the verge of exposing a severe fragility. Not a bug in the code, but a massive flaw in the geopolitical policy surrounding it. Moving to part 2, the 19-day global blackout, a sudden geopolitical halt. This is where all that launch excitement hits a massive brick wall. The speed of this fallout was, frankly, unprecedented. Tuesday, June 9th, the model's launch. By Thursday, June 11th, a jailbreak is published online by this prominent red teamer known as Pliny the Liberator. And then, boom. Friday, June 12th, at exactly 5:21 p.m. Eastern Time, the U.S. Department of Commerce issues an export control directive. Anthropic is ordered to immediately suspend all access for foreign nationals. And here's the kicker. Because there's simply no reliable way to perfectly separate foreign nationals from U.S. users in real time at the API layer, the model had to be completely shut down for absolutely everyone. It wasn't until July 1st that the global redeployment could finally begin. Let's jump into part 3, the anatomy of a jailbreak, how the guardrails fell. We really need to understand the exact vulnerability that caused regulators to step in. So this whole dispute really just came down to semantics. On one side, the red teamer claimed to have liberated Fable 5. They reportedly used this multi-agent pack hunt attack, prompt decomposition, and some clever Unicode manipulation to completely bypass the safety classifier. They allegedly exposed a 120,000 character system prompt and even generated guidance for stack buffer overflow exploits. On the other side, Anthropic fiercely pushed back. They argued this wasn't a true jailbreak defeating core safeguards at all, but rather just coaxing, which is a known conversational limitation. They also pointed out that other public models, like OpenAI's GPT 5.5, could spit out the exact same outputs without any bypass whatsoever. But honestly, regardless of who was right, Amazon researchers saw a severe risk of the model identifying software vulnerabilities, they escalated it to the White House, and the regulators moved in. Now, you really have to understand the specific tool the government used here. An export control directive is a regulatory mechanism traditionally used on physical hardware. We're talking advanced silicon chips or actual physical weapons. But here, The US government used it on an intangible AI model and its API access. They treated the model's core capability as a literal national security concern. And as a result, because Anthropic couldn't just flip a switch and separate users by nationality, they had absolutely no choice but to pull the plug globally just to comply. So, how did they actually get it back online? Well, Anthropic resolved this tense standoff with regulators by deploying a brand new, highly targeted safety classifier. This update blocks that specific vulnerability identification technique in over 99% of cases. And the clever part is, if your request gets caught by this new classifier, Fable 5 doesn't even tell you it's refusing. It just silently routes your request straight over to the older, unrestricted Claude Opus 4.8 model instead. With this technical mitigation in place, the US government lifted the export controls on June 30th, clearing the runway for that July 1st return. Pivoting to part 4. New rules for prompting, relearning how to talk to Fable. We're shifting gears from the news into some highly practical, tactical takeaways for you. Talking to Fable 5 requires a completely different approach. I mean, totally different. The old way relied on tweaking temperature dials for creativity, meticulously chunking long documents into little pieces, and constantly telling the model to think step by step. The Fable 5 way, you need to give literal, highly descriptive instructions about what you want the final output to look like. Stop chunking entirely, just paste your entire 1 million token context document all at once. Let the model handle it. And most importantly, rely on its built-in adaptive thinking. Because Fable 5 dynamically decides its own thinking depth, instructing it to think step by step is literally just burning your tokens for no reason. All right, part 5. Migrating your API stack. Concrete steps for developers. For all you enterprise buyers and devs watching, here's exactly how you get your systems back online with this model. Step 1, simple enough. Swap your model ID to Claude Fable 5. Step 2, and please pay attention to this one. Delete any code that says thinking disabled. Fable 5's adaptive thinking is always on. If you try to force it off, you will actually break your application and throw an HTTP 400 error. Step 3, start your effort level at high, not X high or max. You're going to save massively on your output costs. And finally, step 4, you must build logic to handle a brand new stop reason called refusal. Because of that silent routing classifier we just talked about, you absolutely need a fallback workflow that shifts those refused requests over to Opus 4.8 so your app doesn't crash on your users. You've also got to audit that prompt library right now. Seriously, go remove phrases like show your reasoning or explain your thought process. Why? Because one of Fable 5's new safety classifiers is specifically hunting for attempts to extract its raw reasoning. Your totally innocent legacy prompt might accidentally trigger a hard security refusal. Also, don't forget to raise your max tokens because the model's invisible thinking process actually eats into your token budget before it even types the first word of the final answer. And lastly, baseline your budget carefully. You should expect Fable 5 to cost roughly twice as much as Opus 4.8 for standard tasks. Finally, part 6, AI as conditional infrastructure, the new era of policy risk. Let's zoom back out to the macro level and look at what this wild 19-day ordeal really taught enterprise leaders. Okay, yes, the models are back online, but the policy architecture that yanked them globally with zero warning, that is now a permanent feature of the tech market. Frontier AI access is officially conditional infrastructure. Simply diversifying your cloud vendors, say using AWS and Google Cloud and Microsoft Foundry, that does not insulate you from this kind of disruption anymore. Why? Because if the underlying model gets banned, it just disappears from all of those clouds simultaneously. The regulatory risk has jumped from physical silicon chips straight up to your API layer. Enterprises have literally no choice now but to build automated fallback workflows to alternative open weight or secondary models. Which leaves us with one massive question to chew on. If your frontier model vanishes tomorrow, is your system going to stay standing? It's not just a theoretical doomsday exercise anymore. We literally just watched it happen live over 19 dramatic days. It is absolutely time to rethink your architecture, audit your redundancies, and make for sure you are never caught relying entirely on a single endpoint. Thanks for joining me on this explainer. Go check those fallbacks, and I'll catch you next time.